guys, Chauncey Phillips here. Welcome to a new video and I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of new horror DVDs and Blu-rays. The update, there's like so many things in it, so I decided to split it up this week and put some horror ones in this one. There's still going to be a bunch of horror ones in the next, the update this coming weekend as well. But this one's going to focus on a whole lot of horror titles, pretty much all horror titles. Some pretty cool stuff in here. The first one here is from Shout Factory, and this was, I believe, a film that was made for Chiller, the channel Chiller, and this is Animal. And this is pretty much about, it was actually produced by the company Synthetic Cinema, who I was in some of their early movies, Saw the Sasquatch, and then Banshee, if you haven't seen those. I think they still air those quite a bit on Chiller. But this one was pretty much about a group of these campers, these friends, going out into the woods, and, they for some reason, they parked real far away from, like, where this cabin that they were going to go and stay at is. It's, like, real far out. And then they end up, discovering that there's this kind of creature out there after them, end up, having to go hide out in this cabin, and, Joy Lauren Adams is in there, and it's kind of like them locking themselves into this place, and you kind of find out that, the people have been locked in this cabin for a while, and, they can't leave, and, outside, and so it's kind of like a Night of the Living Dead kind of thing with, like, the zombies outside, but instead of this, it's like this weird kind of creature thing outside, so it's them trying to, like, defend them, and try and, like, survive the night with this thing outside, and trying to figure out what they're going to do. I thought that was pretty well done. I like a lot of the Chiller movies. Synthetic Cinema, too, always does a good job with their stuff. And, I thought it was cool seeing Joy Lauren Adams in the movie. Always been a fan of her from Chasing Amy and, Biodome and a whole bunch of different movies. This has a commentary on here, interviews with the cast and crew, and then behind-the-scenes footage on this as well. But if you want to see, like, a cool kind of creature feature type film, definitely check this out. It's also, the, like, uncut version as well. Like, I think it's like a little bit more like gore and stuff than it was when it aired on Chiller. Now, the next one, this is one that I've really been looking forward to seeing. I heard some like mixed opinions on it. Like some people really didn't absolutely love this movie. And I agree, there's some segments in it that aren't as good. But I did like a number of the segments, and I like the what it is it's VHS Viral, which is the third VHS film. It doesn't have the same feel though as the first two. It doesn't connect to it at all. It's kind of its own, it's sort of its own thing because Adam Wingard and stuff didn't come back for this, so it was kind of a different direction. But there was a bunch of different segments in this one. There was like this magician with this cape, and then things go wrong with it. And that segment I didn't love. There's one from the director who did Open Windows, which I thought was pretty cool about this guy who invented this thing where it's like another dimension and he sees an alternate reality version of himself, and it's kind of like him going through the, kind of him and the alternate reality version of himself switch, and he goes into his world, the other guy goes into the other guy's world. It's kind of about what happens when he goes there, and there's some pretty cool, crazy images in that one. I thought that one was pretty interesting. I also liked the one about these kids. They were making this video, skateboarding video, and then going to Mexico to this weird, like, abandoned area. And, then all these zombies start coming, and they keep on having to kill them. It's all filmed with GoPros and things like that. I thought the thing about this one, though, is some of the found footage aspects to it weren't perfect. I thought, like, some of it was like, what, is this found footage? Like, especially the magician segment. Like I said, that one I just didn't totally do it for me with the whole vibe of it. And I also want to mention too, Todd Lincoln, who directed The Apparition. He has a segment in this. It's not listed on the back or anything like that. It's a secret segment. After the credits, you can see his segment. Like right after the credits end, it starts about, I think it's like 15 minutes long. It's a really pretty cool segment. I'm really surprised that they didn't include that in here. But definitely check it out. Make sure after the credits you check that out so you can see that. And I believe it's only on this, the DVD editions. I think some on-demand ones, but I'm not 100% sure. But it has on here commentaries and some behind-the-scenes featurettes. But I checked this out. Like I said, not as cool as the first two. Doesn't have the same exact authentic vibe, but still I did like it. The next one from Blue Underground. This one I had not seen in a long time. Really forgot that Andy Kaufman was in this movie for he was only in it for like a minute. But I always forgot that he was in this movie. And it's God Told Me To, and it's about, and I will say too, the segment in this movie when you see a guy up on the water tower, when it cuts from that to the guy waking up, was like one of the coolest segments in in movie history. It was just really well cut. Larry Cohen did The Stuff, which I really liked, and It's Alive. and a couple different other ones that I've really liked. But this is basically about this cop who is, pretty religious cop, and all these people are starting to go crazy and like shooting up people and like killing themselves, afterwards, and every one of them is telling the cop guy that God told me to do this, and like God has told them, and he's been hearing when he's talking to witnesses and things like that. They said they saw somebody who almost looked like a Jesus kind of guy with long hair and things like that, and he's sort of trying to investigate this and trying to figure out what is going on, and why these people are doing this, and who this Jesus type looking guy is, and if it's some kind of a cult or what it is. And it's also making him question his whole religious vibes and his whole thoughts process on everything. I thought this one is a pretty cool one though, and it's kind of funny when you watch this when they're filming out in the street and stuff. Like a number of times you see people looking at the camera, and you could tell they kind of just filmed this, at the time, just like on the go and like probably without permits and real quick. A lot, I mean, at least a number of the segments. But I like this. I thought this has a pretty good new, transfer on this. I thought it, really cleaned up well. Has on here though some interviews and Q&As and things like that on this. But definitely check this out though. I like this one. The next one from 88 Films, and these are region free for those wondering. So, if you have a region free, but these are, imports from the UK from 88 Films, and it's, Toxic Avenger 2 and Toxic Avenger 3. Really love the new artworks on these. And they're putting out, this company, 88 Films, is putting out Slaughter coming out, I think, next month. I think it's March. Don't Go in the Woods, and they're putting out a whole bunch of different ones. Scalps, really like that company. They do a pretty good job with these movies and really good transfers on these. But the third third Toxic Avenger film, I wouldn't say Nukem High, the third Toxic Avenger film was about, when Toxie ends up doing bad things because he, working with the bad group because he hears that, his girlfriend, is going to get the surgery done so she can hopefully see. So then he ends up working with the bad conglomerate group. And then the fourth one is about, there ends up being a bad Toxic Avenger. It was like two of them at the same time. Always loved this one. This is like one of the first ones that I saw as a kid. I remember seeing it like probably in middle school or something like that. Like when they first came out, I probably was watching them. I think it was DVDs or something like that. I remember like I was a little too young to be watching them then, I think. But I always really loved this. Always just been a fan of these movies. Really good transfers on these. It also has, the making ofs and all the features from the old DVDs. Because there's a really like cool long documentary. Hopefully down the line too they put out Terra Firma. And I know Troma's going to be putting out soon Rabid Grannies on Blu-ray. The next one from Anchor Bay is Zombie Killers, Elephant's Graveyard, and the director of this also did Camp Dread, which I thought was a pretty cool movie with Eric Robertson and Daniel Harris, about the kids camping. This one, it kind of has like a Walking Dead sort of vibe to it. It's about like, the zombie outbreaks happen and a bunch of these people have, locked themselves into this community with this gate. I will say though, the gate, like, it didn't look like it would keep anybody out. It's like the gate looked like if you like ran into it, it would fall over. Like that's the only thing I will say is like the gate just didn't look strong enough to keep anything out. Especially because they were standing in front of it a lot, and I'm like, you could just push that over. I think that's the only thing I will say is like, it's about a group of these people led by Billy Zane, who is like going out and like with like the kids of the group, like the younger teens and things like that. And like he kind of teaches them with paintballs and stuff like to hunt zombies, and they kind of go out and they sort of are going out to try and kill all the zombies around in the area. So hopefully they like make a dent in getting rid of some of them. Mishka Barton's in this movie. DeWast is in this movie as well, and DeWast's daughter is in the movie as well. I thought there was a pretty cool like movie about like people together, and Billy Zane was actually pretty cool in this, like together and then fighting the zombies. They had a feature on here too from Bloodbath and Beyond, which was pretty cool with them on the set. I know they've like done some reviews and stuff that I've been in, so I thought it was pretty cool that they put them on here as a feature. It also has a look behind the scenes. I just thought this was a pretty cool like end of the world zombie movie about people together, and it kind of thought about a group of different people and all the kind of stuff that they were dealing with. The next one from Image is Dread Central Presents Zombie World. And this, has Bill Oberst Jr. in it as like the presenter of it. He's like on the news wearing this sort of silly wig and stuff, and he's like presenting like, like the zombie outbreaks happen, and it's him saying now over to Spain, now over to like all these different countries, and now over to Canada and things like that. So it's an anthology movie with like segments filmed all around the world, and like so like he comes back and says it, and he was bit by a zombie in the beginning, so throughout it he's sort of like turned into a zombie and getting worse and worse. but it's pretty cool. Like, I really love the segments from Mexico. Like, there was ones, like, the gore effects in them were really pretty cool. They were, like, to the level of, like, Dead Alive. Like, real over the top. Some of the segments, though, weren't as good. And some of them, like, I wondered, like, were they made for this? Or were they, like, done before? And they, like, people just didn't use them for anything before? Because, like, the one with, like, the mailman kind of character just seemed a little bit too normal to fit in this exactly. That's the only thing I will say about that. But I thought it was a pretty cool, like, anthology one. Like, I liked how it was, from all around the world and stuff like that. And it just gave it a pretty cool vibe. Like I said, though, the Mexico segments were the cool, like, super gory, really cool ones. The next one from Accelerator Media is Poker Night. I've never watched Sons of Anarchy, but I know people were saying a number of the cast members from that were in this. But, it has in here, Ron Perlman. And like I said, some other people who were from it. Like I said, I've never seen the show. But it's pretty much about this new cop, who's kind of like people, when you're a cop, like, they kind of like the cops all get together and go to this thing called Poker Night, where they kind of like, play the games with new cops and things like that and tell them stories about cases that they went through and different kind of murder things, all kinds of stuff. And they kind of just like telling the new guy about all this stuff as he wins. And, the guy ends up getting kidnapped and he's kind of by this guy wearing this mask. And it's kind of about him trying to use the stories that he's learned at Poker Night to try and, put together the pieces of who this person is and why he kidnapped him and all that kind of stuff. I thought this one was okay. Not absolutely amazing or anything like that. I thought the mask was pretty cool in this. I thought Ron Perlman was pretty good. But it was like a different kind of take. I mean, it was a well-acted thing, too, though. The next one from Warner Brothers, this is a, burn-on-demand title. And I might have seen this as a kid. I couldn't remember. I kept trying to figure this out. But it's called Rat Boy. This was a pretty sad but really pretty well-done movie. And Louis Anderson was in this movie. And I didn't realize, know that going into this. And he was in it for a pretty long amount of time, but his character kind of disappears, though. And you even see John Lovitz in this movie. I think he was just sort of like playing an extra in this, but you could see he was like trying to really make himself known and like making these really ridiculous faces in the party scene. But this is like before he was really known or anything. And it's about this guy who's like, I think he's supposed to be like in his 20s, and he has like this condition where his face and his body and his hands and everything kind of look like and resemble a rat, and he's like living out in the dump. These two kind of like silly guys, like they're real over the top as actors, like ended up kidnapping him, taking him to like, holding him for ransom in this area, and this woman finds out about it who works for the paper. So she ends up, having Louis Anderson pose as a cop, and she ends up taking hold of him. It's kind of about people wanting to use Rat Boy to try and like get famous. They want to like put him in movies, and like they're putting together like a press conference with him to try and get famous with it. But it's like all these different characters that keep coming in and out of his lives that really are only there to try and use him and exploit him and get money out of him, by using him for things. And all these kind of ideas that they have. But it's just a really sad movie. But I thought there was a pretty well-acted thing, though. Some of it was like unintentionally funny a little bit. But like I said, I feel like this is a movie that like not a lot of people have seen. But it was a pretty cool, like different one. The next one from Vertical Entertainment is Jurassic City. This is kind of like this facility where they have all these like dinosaurs that they're like doing experiments on and things like that. And one of them ends up getting loose. Well, I think one gets out in the city. One of them also gets out in the jail. So it's out in the city, like killing people off in like in hot tubs and things like that. And then these girls who ended up, the main girls who got arrested for something end up in jail. And then the dinosaur ends up getting loose inside of the vicinity with the jail. So it's about them trying to work with the prisoners, like this one, this guy played by Kevin Nash in it, who is like a real bad like killer, and they all kind of have to work together and try and survive the night in the jail. It's a pretty cool one. Some silly like effects and things like that, but that's kind of like what you expect for things like this. But a bunch of different people were in this too. Like Felicity Rose was missing a little cameo. I thought it was a pretty cool one. Just like a weird like kind of dinosaur loose in the city, and like it's like a different kind of thing. I don't think I've really seen one with like dinosaurs in the jail and things like that. The next one isn't totally horror. It has like a cover like it's more of horror. It's from Hanover House. This is one of those ones too, like I didn't know exactly what was going on with it, and then like at the end you're like, oh, it was really dismal at the end. But it's called the Spring Break Murders, and you hear in the beginning, that all four of them are going to die. They say this, and you don't know what's going on, and you don't know what's happened, but they all kind of get together, these friends, to meet up to go to the spring break event. and it's kind of like them kind of talking about all their problems. They all have like little issues and things like that that have happened. One, it was in a car accident, and one of the sisters died. They all have out different kind of things. And eventually you come to find out, how they die, why they died, like the reason behind it and everything. It was actually pretty original at the end. I thought that this was actually pretty good. The only thing is, I don't know like what was with the picture on this a little bit. For some reason, it was really blown out white. I don't know if like the movie like didn't have the budget to like color correct this movie or something. That's the only thing that I noticed about it. But like, as a movie though, I actually really like this. The next one I wanted to mention about this because it's like a new release issue of this, but they put on the DVD the review that I did of the last edition of this, and it's Scavenger Killers. This is a crazy movie, and like Dustin Diamond or Eric Roberts are in this. And there's a scene of Dustin Diamond when this, looking for like, trying to figure out the killer, and the way he does it is filling up this giant woman's boobs. It's really strange, like one of the strangest things you've probably ever seen in your life. And Eric Roberts is sitting there like this. I don't know, it's just really odd. The next one from Midnight Releasing as well is Axe to Grind, and this was like about a group of these like scream queens getting together, and it's like, Deborah Rashan is like the head scream queen, like who has kind of like been pushed out by the younger scream queens, and she's going to this set, to make this movie, and like things have happened. She was like fired, and one of the people that replaced her is in this movie, and it's kind of about her going and like killing off these people, and people like dying off in the set. I thought this was pretty good, not amazing and things like that. It was well shot and everything, but some of it just sort of dragged on a little bit, and like some of the flashbacks and stuff, like I don't know, like I kind of wish they would have gotten like a couple more like known scream queens in it, and it would have made it a little more interesting. The next one is Malignant, and this was another one like I didn't know exactly what was happening, and I was wondering like, is Brad Dourif really in this, or is it going to be a body double or something? And he was in this. And it's called Malignant. It's about this guy who's like a serious alcoholic, and Brad Dourif ends up doing this like experiment on him, and if the guy ends up drinking, he goes out at that night and ends up like blacking out and going and like killing people off. Like he has no idea that he did it. He didn't know that why. But he doesn't even remember it. But Brad Dourif did all these experiments to him, so he's going around killing people at night. And the only way that he won't go around killing people is as long as he stops drinking. And Brad Dourif was really pretty cool in this. It's like a really weird movie, though. I like this a lot. I thought it was pretty well acted. And like I said, though, I was worried. Like, is Brad Dourif's his voice going to be in this thing? But no, he was in this. I like this, though. I really did think this was a pretty cool, interesting one. Like I said, and Brad Dourif really put a lot of effort into this, I thought. Sometimes movies like that, they would just sort of like collecting the check or just getting it done. Like, he really was doing a good job in it. The next one I just wanted to mention, too, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, check out Disaster Wars from E1, the one that I'm in. It's at Walmart now, but, it's about this big wave, and there's, bad things that are happening. I'm one of the guys in this that's, like, finds out about it, and it's, it's like calling the command and telling about it. It's just a cool, fun movie. Reggie Banish is in this. Priscilla Barnes, Joe Estevez is in this. Another one that I'm in, wanted to mention, is finally out, is Filthy McNasty 4. And I think the other title it has is Beyond McNasty. I think I did a video on set of this, you guys, a while back in like 2010. But if you guys remember the character I used to play, Don, I'm like pretty much playing that character in this. And it's a fun movie. You can get it on Amazon. And it's kind of about these sex demons, and this one girl wants to be like made over by them, and start getting action and things like that, and the sex demons come and bad stuff starts happening. I play one of the kids that's going to stop these sex demons. Just a really fun, weird movie by Chris Seaver. Definitely check this out though, especially if you want to see the Don character, if you remember that. I'm not so sure, that character. That's what I play in this. The last one I just wanted to mention was Cesar Nato's Deadly Xmas. There's another one that I'm in. Brendan has a little cameo in this with me as well. Is now out on VHS. This is the first time I've done anything that had like a limited edition VHS release. So pretty cool, that they put that out on VHS from Wild Eye. So definitely check this out. Really love the cover on this. So anyway, though, guys, this was my horror video update. Going to be one still this weekend on a bunch of other stuff as well. Some other stuff from Shout Factory. Some other pretty cool stuff. So thanks again for watching, for subscribing, and I'll see you guys later. And give this video a thumbs up if you want me to do more like split up videos like this, focusing more on horror. Okay.